Good evening. How's everybody doing? Ooh. How's everybody doing? Uh, Wednesday, 6:30, 6:31, 6:32. Good to see everybody that's on. Good to make sure everybody's there. Hope you had a wonderful Sunday. For all those who missed me, I did sneak in on Sunday for a few minutes, but I had a funeral service on Sunday, and so I was unable to be there for service. So, but I got out and came by and didn't get a chance to come by, didn't get a chance to stay. But again, we thank God for all of the people who help us get started and do the things that we need to do in church. And I'm glad to know that things are well in the church and that people can handle the service when I'm not there. That's a marvelous thing and a great thing to know when you're dealing with the staff at the church. Couple things. Again, we're excited about what God is doing. This is coming up on first Sunday. I keep asking myself, where's this year going? I mean, this year is moving so quickly, and that it's almost blowing my mind. I can't believe, Pastor, how fast this year is going. Again, thank you again for stepping in on Sunday and delivering a marvelous message to the people and blessing them. We thank you for that. Also, we want to, I want to get into a few things this evening before I play the music, play a song for you today. I wanted to just kind of let you know what's been on my mind. And after speaking to Sister Betty and going over a few things with her, I figured it was time for me to basically say some things about what I see that's going on that we need to take care of, as a church and as a church family. Over the last year or two, since the pandemic, we've seen our tithes and offerings plummet. A lot of people pay their tithes, a lot of people don't. I do get a chance to see who does and who doesn't, and it's kind of sad to know that some of you have stopped paying your tithes and still expect the same services out of the church, when it's important that we give in order to make sure that everything gets taken care of. It's evident, and I know that people struggle, and I know that people go through things, but it's evident when we start to see that people aren't paying their tithes. Regardless of what your situation is, you should pay your tithes. Some of you have not paid in the last few months, and some people say they're doing other things, but there's nothing you can do that supersedes paying your tithes in church on Sundays. It's evident when I see, for the pastor's appreciation, when I see that only 8 people gave to the assessment for the pastor's appreciation, which is kind of disturbing, because I know that there's more than 8 people that go to the church and you didn't give to the assessment, and you're not paying your tithes. And so it's interesting to me that we need to learn that it's important that we pay our tithes. And if you have not paid your tithes, whatever the situation or the circumstance is, you need to come back and look at it, and you need to send your tithes in to Sister Betty, or you need to pay them as soon as possible. That is important. It's very unnatural for a church like ours, who've always been on top of their tithes and offerings, to see so many leaders and so many people not paying their tithes. We must pay our tithes. We must do the things that we're supposed to do in order to see the church flourish. If you're not paying your tithes, please pay your tithes this week. If you can't catch up, it's fine. Start paying them now. But some of you have not paid in months. Some of you, and I see this, and I never say anything to people about it because I feel like maybe I shouldn't say anything, Crystal. It's about being obedient to God when we're supposed to pay our tithes. Will a man rob God? And I taught on this a few weeks ago, and everybody seemed to be on board with the teaching. But when I come back now and look at the tithes, you're not calling them in, and you're not paying them, and they're not coming across in the offering. And it's unfortunate, because when I look at it, and when I look at the involvement of the people in the church, I wonder why you're not paying your tithes. And I need you to come back and pay your tithes so we can still do things. We still have rent. We still have responsibilities. We must continue to pay our tithes. We must. And if we're to ever go forward to the next dimension, we must pay our tithes. We must do the things so the church won't have to suffer again like we've suffered in the past. So I need everyone that's listening to me tonight to please, this is first Sunday coming up, please pay your tithes. For those who are on here that have not paid your tithes, please pay them. I don't want to have to call people and ask them, where's your tithes? I don't want to have to call people and ask them, how come you're not paying your tithes? I want you to do that on your own. I want you just to pay your tithes. I want you to be responsible for what it is that God has called us to do, and continue to lift up the kingdom through your tithe paying. The kingdom building can only be built from the responsibility and the obedience of God's people. So please pay your tithes. Please send your money into Betty so she can continue to operate the church as necessary. Again, I'm not worried about the fact that you didn't pay your assessment for me for my pastor's appreciation. If you didn't do it, that's fine. There's nothing I can do about that. But it was the lowest amount of appreciation that I've gotten since I've been pastoring the church for 25 years. And I just find that to be very unfortunate that the people of the church will not pay their tithes or take care of the pastor in that means. So your love offerings are, every Sunday my love offering is less than $40. And I think that's not what God called for anybody to do. And I expect us to do better than that. And people are not giving their tithes, and they're not giving a love offering to the pastor. And if you don't think that you should, then don't. You won't be hurting anybody. I can tell you that right now. But it's my responsibility to come on and ask you to take care of your tithes and offerings. That is what God has called us to do, is to make sure we take care of the church and the man or woman of God. And you're not doing it. So if you're not doing it, please pay your tithes. May God continue to bless you.
This keeps me going. In those days when I feel like giving up,
I believe the storm will soon be over. I believe the rain will go away. I believe that I can make it through it. Oh, I believe it's already done.
I want you to already see yourself out of the storm. The clouds will move. It's time for you to smile again. Come on, Sean. I believe family will get better. I believe God will provide. I believe the promise that He made. Oh, I believe. Oh, us that if any two of us shall agree on anything on earth, that God will do it for us in heaven. And I know sometimes life has a way of knocking you down to the point where you can't even pray for yourself. But today I want to agree with you that it's getting ready to get better. And right now we are giving your problems an expiration date. And we're saying it's over. That you've been crying long enough. That you've been worried long enough. That you've been struggling long enough. And I believe that God's going to do it for you. I believe God's going to do it. Yes, He will. Remember this, your storm is over. I believe the rain is gone away. Clouds have moved. I believe that you'll make it through it. Oh, I believe it's already done. I'm excited about your future.
Somebody say amen. On Sunday, I will address the situation with the Roe versus Wade connotation as it swings to a misunderstanding from our government officials and as to what God really wants. That whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, we must respect each other, but at the same time, we must protect each other from the hands of those who think that they have the lives of the people at best. And that's not what this is all about. I wanted to talk this evening, if I could, for just a few minutes, a situation about understanding what purpose is in our life and dealing with purpose. I remember, I just want to talk about, if I could just hang something on this to talk about, I would say, let me go. Please let me die. And this is something that sobbed a frail old gentleman as he, as a strong swimmer, struggled against the boisterous waves of an open ocean. And listen to the story. Just a few more minutes, sir, and I will have you safely to shore, replied the young man, grasping for every breath. Finally, as he made it to shore with the older gentleman, both fell desperately exhausted onto the sand. "Why did you save me?" the old man cried. And the angry 76-year-old man said, "Why didn't you just let me die? Your good deed is a curse of my existence." Startled by the words, the young man looked down at the older man who had nearly drowned, at his ash painted from the heroic efforts in the sand and all of the things on him of rescuing the victim from the violent waves. He shook his head, revealing the shock and the manifestation that filled his mind. Winston had known Mr. Cambridge for 20 years. He had always admired the hard-working businessman for his success. To him, the older man, Mr. Cambridge, was a role model that embodied all of the he hoped to be someday himself, having worked all of his life to achieve the status of being the wealthiest man in the city. Mr. Cambridge owned millions of dollars worth of investments and envisioned mansions and lived on a beachfront property. He was the father of 3 well-educated children who all worked in his company. Friends, relatives admired, looked to him to inspiration and guidance, perplexed by the disparity between the observation of Mr. Cambridge's life and the gentleman's desire to die. Winston asked him, "But sir, why do you want to die?" Little did Winston know that the answer to this question would change his life forever. And it may change yours as well. As the tears flowed down the aged man's eyes, the old man buried his face in his hands, lamented what was all for. What was it all for? "Is this all there is?" he said. "What did I gain? I have everything and yet nothing. Everyone thinks I'm a success, but I'm a failure. I have given everything and received nothing. I made my parents happy and proud of me. And my wife has everything she could ever desire. My children want for nothing. And my reputation among my friends and associates is impressive. Still, I am empty, depressed, frustrated, and sad. My life has no meaning. Unlike my bank accounts, which are well filled, I am unfulfilled. Everyone knows what I am, but I still don't know why I am. For years I have been driven by the expectations of others that I have not discovered my personal reason for it at all. I don't understand what my being is. I do not wish to live with such emptiness anymore. Today I decided it was better to be dead than to be alive and not know why. Let me say that again. Mr. Cambridge said, "Today I decided that it was better for me to be dead than to live and not know why." Those words pierced the younger man's soul. As he attempted to regain his composure, the old man took his hand, looked into his eyes with a soul-searching glare, and said, "Son, do not strive to be like me. Find out who you are and be yourself." As the medics carried the old man away and the sound of the ambulance faded into the distance, young Winston stood staring out at the sea. He was not really aware of his surroundings, for the old man's words had stirred him and given him something to think about deeply. Now, Ray, Pastor, Sheila, all of you who are listening, remember the old man said, "I would rather be dead than to live and not know why." Interesting. Who I am, what does it mean to be myself, echoed into his brain. The young man just sat there looking. The question, who I am, why am I here? Where did I come from? What was, watch this, what was I made for? What was I called to do? What can I do? Where do I fit? Why am I different? What is my potential? Where am I going? Why did I come to this planet? And universe questions that haunt every human being. Each of us must find the answer to these questions of purpose if we're going to enjoy the meaningful, effective fulfilling of life. Purpose is the key to life. Without purpose, life has no meaning. There are millions today, just like Mr. Cambridge. They are busy making a living, but they experience very little of life. If your goal is in life is to be wealthy so you can retire, you have embarked on a depressing journey to nowhere. If your vision for life is measured by status, your upkeep will be your downfall. Vision is buried in purpose. Without knowledge of purpose, life becomes an endless purpose without, watch this, stirring the activities with little or no significance. Like a rider on a rocking horse, life is without purpose, makes much motion, but has no progress. A word without purpose, a lack of purpose, and the impending tragedy that results from the absence is found not only in the people, but in all things. When elements of nature lose their purpose, chaos and destruction are the results. When nations, societies, communities, organizations, friendships, marriage, clubs, churches, counties, countries, and tribes lose the sense of purpose and significance, then confusion, frustration, discouragement, disillusioned, and corporate suicide follows. Without gradual of insight, reign, purpose is the master of motivation and the mother of commitment. It is the source of enthusiasm and the womb of preservation. Purpose gives birth to hope and instills the positive to the act. It is the common denominator that gives every creature, element on earth, the understanding to guiding sense of purpose is more than an ordination towards a goal. Rather, it is deep in its understanding, deep in its purpose, to know what it means to have purpose. Awareness, that's a common vision, encompass all of life and its existence. Without this vision, we can only exist. We feel no passion for living. Neither do we have a reason to wake up in the morning. Thousands of years ago, a king known as the wealthiest man who ever lived stated, meaningless, meaningless, uttering meaningless. Everything is meaningless. Ecclesiastes 1 and 2. This is the conclusion after years of observation, man's life, activities, plans, and achievement, part of a sense of personal and corporate purpose. These words are there to echo, have returned to watch this, to haunt us nearly 6,000 years later. We face the world that acts like a spaceship that has lost its flight plan. That's what we are. Planet Earth is like a mother whose children all have lost all sense of direction and all of its value. Globally speaking, everything in motion, watch this, merges in accomplishments and deregulations and changing agencies and comfort to misunderstanding to understand. Without purpose, there is no life. Without purpose, there is no understanding. Without purpose, there is no gain. If you don't know why you're here, then you'll keep echoing the sounds of Mr. Cambridge. I'd rather be dead than to not know why I exist. You must have purpose. Long years and years have passed without people understanding what their purpose is. Do you know what your purpose is? Do you know what God has called you to do? If you don't, it's a sad indictment against the church, against the individuals, against the pastor, against all those who attend, that we just go to church on Sunday, spend an hour and 15 minutes, and come out the same way we went in because we don't understand our purpose. We try to trick God with our living that we understand, but we don't understand. And God is trying to move us to another dimension, and he can't move us because we will not understand what our purpose is. We must understand our purpose in order to move forward. Purpose is important. Greater life is there with a man who understands his purpose than a man who seeks to be rich and seeks to have everything he needs without knowing why he has it and what he should do with it. God is not impressed with what you have. God is only impressed with what you do with what he's given you. Purpose means to establish an understanding of your path that God has directed you in. That's what purpose is. This lesson is not just simplistic in its saying. You must understand Mr. Cambridge. You must understand Winston. You must understand that Winston was blown away when he almost died saving a man that didn't want to live anymore. But then Winston realized that everything that this man had and everything that this man accomplished, he was missing one thing, and that was the realization of what his purpose was for existence. Do you know your purpose tonight? Do you trust the Lord with all your heart? Do you stand firm that you're not leaning to your own understanding? Do you believe that the Lord is your shepherd, that you shall not want? Do you believe that you're standing by a river, that you're steadfast and unmoved because God has established purpose in your life? Your purpose to help, your purpose to evaluate, your purpose to serve, your purpose. What is your purpose? Are you operating with your vision without purpose? Are you operating with your mission without purpose? Are you operating your business without purpose? Are you operating everything that you have to be successful, to be big, to be all of these things? Do you go to work every day to accumulate wealth, to accumulate people to like you, to make people try to see you, and you don't even know why you exist because you failed to understand purpose? I encourage each and every one of you tonight to find out what your purpose is and to seek God in the midst of your misunderstanding. To trust God to lead you in a purposeful way. That you will understand that your purpose is all tied with an embodiment of Christ. And not an embodiment of wealth, not an embodiment of a new car, not an embodiment of a new house. That your purpose is tied with Christ. Be led by the Father, be guided by the Word, and live by the understanding that all things work together for the good, for those who love the Lord and are called according to, watch this, His purpose. That He purposed for our lives before the beginning of time. Mr. Cambridge, there was no final message from him after they wheeled him off to the hospital. But hopefully that Winston, after saving someone who didn't want to be saved, made a decision to save himself. May God continue to bless you, is my prayer. Amen.